He wasn't afraid of being seen making these moves. Even if someone noticed, no one but Tuasin could replicate them. He's actually crafting the runes himself. The Nine Heavens demon Venerable narrowed his pupils at the sight, but his stride didn't falter. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed over 100 zhang. His movements, however, were somewhat gentle, clearly having noticed the ancient demon figure within the vortex's depths. A guess had already formed in his heart, and he seemed unwilling to disturb it. The pink-robed woman had also seen Wong Lin's actions. After a brief pause, realization struck her, and she swiftly approached while shaking her head. This vortex was already incredibly powerful, and the further in one went, the harder it became to advance. At this point, the Nine Heavens demon Venerable and the woman had slowed slightly, though within the vortex they were still moving rapidly. The howling aura of ancient demons in this place disrupted all forms of divine abilities, but with their profound cultivation, the two continued to charge forward, covering over 700 zhang, drawing closer and closer to Wong Lin. Wong Lin fixed his gaze on them. The moment they were within a few hundred zhang, he suddenly raised his right hand and swung it forward. The demon soul vase instantly floated before him, and from within it, a massive surge of ancient demon souls erupted with a thunderous roar. At the same time, the ancient god star mark between Wong Lin's brows began spinning rapidly. Boundless ancient god power surged forth wildly, merging with the demon souls the instant they fused. The already thick ancient demon aura in the vortex instantly became one with this merge power. In an instant, the power of the three clans transformed into a strange energy capable of forming runes. With a low growl from Wong Lin, the force rapidly compressed, enveloping him entirely. In the blink of an eye, countless runes appeared all over Wong Lin's body, not just on his brow, but across every inch of him. It happened in an instant, far too fast to grasp. The faces of the Nine Heavens demon Venerable and the pink-robed woman changed. No longer concerned about disturbing the slumbering ancient demon, they accelerated and rushed straight toward Wong Lin. Outside the vortex, a roar drew near. It was the great Baron Sage stepping into the vortex with a single stride. Behind him followed the woman in white. Her delicate brows furrowed as she stowed the burial platform and entered the vortex as well. Just as the Nine Heavens demon Venerable and the pink-robed woman neared, a cold smile curled at Wong Lin's lips. "You're too late." With a shudder of his body, completely unfazed by their arrival, the runes covering Wong Lin's form exploded outward, floating into the air. Simultaneously, Wong Lin swept both arms outward. In a flash, the massive number of runes he had crafted earlier burst forth in a dazzling blaze. At that very moment, Wong Lin leapt upward, his wide sleeves billowing, as the colossal burial platform, spanning 8,000 zhang, thundered into existence. As soon as it appeared, the burial platform absorbed all the runes Wong Lin had produced. It trembled violently, radiating blinding golden light that swept out in all directions. The roar was earth-shaking, thundering like a storm across the vortex. After absorbing all the runes, the 8,000 zhang burial platform began to expand rapidly. 8,200 zhang. 8,400 zhang, until it reached 9,000 zhang. A ninth-order burial platform. The moment it reached that tier, the golden light abruptly vanished, leaving the platform entirely colorless. Not only that, it trembled even more violently. Wong Lin immediately stepped onto it, standing atop the ninth-order burial platform. Ninth-order burial platform. A cold gleam flashed in the Nine Heavens demon Venerable's eyes as he charged forward without hesitation. The pink-robed woman's expression also shifted drastically as she rushed toward the platform. The great Baron Sage's eyes revealed a flash of greed, and he too bolted forward. Only the white-robed woman remained still. In silence, she backed away, seemingly withdrawing from the battle for the platform. But at that exact moment, a sudden and shocking change erupted. A thunderous roar shook the heavens, erupting from within the ancient tomb. A moment earlier it had sounded distant, but in the next breath, it was right upon them. Within the ninth map of the ancient tomb, Tuasin was charging forward with a low growl, but his expression suddenly changed. His body froze and abruptly veered aside. From the endless void ahead, a deafening roar erupted. Through the howling winds, a massive arm could be seen stretching out from the mist sea, sweeping through the air with terrifying force, barely missing Tuasin. Though it didn't touch him, the gust of wind that followed slammed into him like a tidal wave. Even with his powerful physique, the shock wave hurled him backward, blood spilling from the corners of his mouth. He barely managed to halt himself. The fearless Tuasin now had rare fear in his eyes as he stared at the rapidly retreating colossal arm. That massive arm swept across the ancient tomb and charged directly toward the 8th map. At the same time, within the first map of the ancient tomb, another massive arm emerged from the mist sea. It howled through the air, sweeping across the land. Dozens of cultivators who remained within the first map were speeding through the mist when the sound of the howling winds abruptly overwhelmed their hearing. Before they could even react, the giant arm swept through behind them with a thunderous boom. The screams of death were drowned out by the deafening roar, not a single sound escaping. After that arm swung, the dozens of cultivators were all wiped out, along with their burial platforms, all collapsing and dying. The speed of this arm was more than 10 times faster than the one from the 9th map, like a towering mountain moving with the speed comparable to a third-step void profound expert, sweeping through with thunderous force. In the blink of an eye, it swept through the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and up to the 7th map. All cultivators within the path of this arm had no chance of dodging. In the instant it passed, they were all shattered and perished. Some of them had even reached the 4th order burial platform, but their end was no different. They were utterly destroyed. It was like the end of days, the moment the 9th order burial platform appeared, heralding the apocalypse of this ancient tomb. The two arms that appeared in this ancient tomb were like a giant opening its hands and sweeping from above, as though ready to clap. The speed was so fast it could only be described as instantaneous. The moment the 9th order burial platform of Wong Lin appeared and the 9 heavens demon Venerable and others burst forth, these two enormous arms swept through all the maps and simultaneously appeared in the 8th map. The howling that reached the ears of the 9 heavens demon Venerable and others was the sound of these massive arms. The shock from the appearance of these arms was beyond description, shaking the mind and spirit. Each arm was several thousand feet thick, and they roared as they approached, moving faster than anyone could react, appearing outside the ancient demon vortex. From both ends of the vortex, these massive arms came crashing in. The moment they touched the ancient demon vortex, it immediately shattered with a thunderous bang, unable to put up any resistance. As the ancient demon vortex collapsed, the two massive arms instantly approached, sweeping across everyone as they shattered the vortex and struck the first 9th order burial platform that appeared in this ancient tomb. The woman in white had already retreated earlier and was the furthest away. Startled, she swayed and avoided the arm, but still, the shockwave from it sent her coughing up blood, and she was thrown back violently. The great Baron Sage wasn't so fortunate. He was closest to the arm in the end. Shocked and unable to dodge, the arm struck him directly. His body exploded into a bloody pulp. Even the mystic toned doppelganger's body, a third-step body, couldn't withstand a blow from this giant hand. With a scream, the great Baron Sage's split soul flew out, trying to escape, but the shockwave from the arm swept through, instantly erasing his soul into nothingness. Though this might sound like a lengthy tale, it all happened in the blink of an eye. As the arm roared forward, it aimed directly at the 9th order burial platform behind the 9 heavens demon Venerable and the woman in pink. The 9 heavens demon Venerable's face turned pale in an instant. His appearance, which fluctuated between a youth and an elder, now froze in the form of an elder. His hands formed seals in front of him, and he collided directly with the incoming arm. With a resounding boom, the 9 heavens demon Venerable spat out blood. His appearance rapidly shifted from an elder to a middle-aged man, and after spitting out more blood, it transformed into that of a youth. In that moment, his Taoist art split into many clones, each one disintegrating and dying, using their deaths to buy him a slim chance of survival. The youthful 9 heavens demon Venerable's body strangely vanished, and after the arm swept by, he reappeared, blood spilling from his mouth. He immediately dashed forward, narrowly avoiding the strike, his eyes filled with terror. As for the woman in pink, her face also turned pale with fear. Forming seals with her hands, she spat out a cloud of pink mist. Within the mist was a black ribbon, which she grabbed and wrapped around her body. Just as the arm swept past, she managed to dodge by 1,000 feet, but the tip of the arm still grazed her, causing her to spit out blood as she was knocked backward. Meanwhile, the other arm, howling from the 9th map, swept through the ancient demon vortex, passing over the chaotic whirlpool where the ancient demon slept, crushing the seals. The moment the seals shattered, the ancient demon, who had been dormant, suddenly opened his eyes. In his left eye, 8.5 star points were spinning. He was awake. The massive arm passed by him, and the awakened ancient demon let out a sharp, ear-piercing howl. As he howled, his body became transparent and blurry, allowing the arm to pass right through him, heading straight for the 9th order burial platform. Both giant arms appeared simultaneously on either side of the burial platform. With a tremendous crash, they landed on the first ninth-order burial platform, causing it to shake and collapse into countless fragments. An arm pierced through everything, slamming together with another in front of Wong Lin's body. A deafening boom echoed outward. In that instant, the arms slowly separated, and as they pulled apart, it was as if they had hooked into the void itself. Like tearing a sheet of paper, the two palms ripped open an enormous rift in the emptiness. Within that rift was a strange and unfamiliar world. Wong Lin's face was pale. Although he hadn't suffered any injury from the clash of the hands, the sudden scene had shaken his heart and mind deeply. The internal upheaval triggered tremors in the outer world. At that moment, outside the ancient tomb in the ancient star of antiquity, the fissure in the ancient burial ground that had previously vanished suddenly reappeared, flashing back into existence. As it surged open once more, the endless fog that had lingered outside since the rift closed now responded, as if synchronized with the mist within the tomb, churning violently. Roaring sounds echoed, like clouds of fog colliding with one another, reverberating across the void. And just as the rift reappeared in the ancient star of antiquity, all the surrounding fog seemed to be caught in a massive suction force, rushing toward the crevice. It was as if the rift had become a gaping maw, inhaling the fog with a mighty breath. In a blink, the sea of fog rolled back and more than half of it vanished into the crack. The remaining mist continued to be drawn into the ancient tomb at high speed. Elsewhere in the same ancient star, on a nearby dead cultivation star, the true body of the great Baron Sage, whose split soul had just collapsed, opened his eyes sharply while seated in meditation. His face was slightly pale, and in his gaze glinted merciless coldness. He had pursued the Tao for himself alone and was notorious for breaking oaths, though everyone who knew of this habit was already dead, so the knowledge had never spread. Though he had some past ties with the second-generation Vermilion Bird, in the face of personal gain, such sentiment counted for nothing. It was precisely this cold and heartless nature that led him to cultivate for tens of thousands of years without forming a single true friendship. With a cold snort, his body flickered and stepped straight into the starry sky. In the next breath, he reappeared outside the rift of the ancient tomb, right where the fog was being violently absorbed. He floated amidst the mist like an unmoving mountain, staring coldly for a moment. Then a trace of decisiveness flashed in his eyes. So, the restriction on a cultivator's cultivation level to enter is gone. The great Baron Sage paused only briefly before stepping forward without hesitation, entering the rift. At the same time, as the rift in the ancient star of antiquity drew in the fog, far away in a boundless starfield, a vast purple ocean rolled like a dreamscape. Deep beneath the waves, an old man sat cross-legged. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, flashing with cold light. The great Baron Sage dares to seize my doppelganger, and that Wong Lin ruined my plans. And now this tomb is undergoing massive changes, yet the cultivation restriction has vanished. The old man was silent for a while before suddenly sweeping his right hand before him. The sea roared, and before him beneath the ocean, a massive gate formed from crashing waves. He rose and stepped through the gate. In an instant, he too appeared outside the tomb's rift. Just then, the starry sky before him twisted, dividing into 9 sections. Each segment displayed an illusory world, and from the twisting realms stepped out a single figure. It was a weathered middle-aged man, his complexion dark. As soon as he appeared, his eyes crackled like lightning, sweeping once over mystic Tone Tao Venerable. It's been tens of thousands of years since the old mystic Tone from the Purple Sea left his lair, and now you've come to muddy the waters too. If the old demon of the 9 heavens can come, why wouldn't I? Mystic Tone Tao Venerable's voice was hoarse as he spoke slowly. The two exchanged glances, but said no more. Together, they turned their gazes to the rift still devouring the fog, eyes deep in thought. Great wasteland poison has already entered, Mystic Tone Tao Venerable said quietly after a moment. Could it be a trap? 9 heavens Demon Venerable asked, frowning slightly. Unlikely. If someone could set a trap inside the ancient tomb, would they reveal themselves so obviously? The two locked eyes again, a trace of resolve rising between them. The great wasteland must be sealed. I'll help you seal that poison. Whatever we gain, I take 60%. Agreed. But that little one, he's mine. Their pact made. The two turned into streaks of light and shot toward the rift, which now floated quietly in the starry sky, having devoured all the fog. But just as they were about to enter, the ancient star of antiquity trembled violently. A mighty force gathered from all directions, coalescing into a massive, illusory palm print that hung suspended in the air above. The print was so large it seemed to cover the entire starfield. Mystic Tone Tao Venerable instantly halted and looked up. Nine Heavens Demon Venerable frowned ever so slightly, also stopping. From beneath the palm print, black smoke began to rise, crossing and weaving until it formed a shadowy figure, cloaked entirely in black robes, face and form obscured. A great battle is approaching. You two must not suffer mishap. As for this ancient tomb, best stay out of it. A moment of silence followed. The rift did not close. It still floated there, as if awaiting the arrival of cultivators. Mystic Tone Tao Venerable finally spoke. Are you sure something will go wrong? Not yet calculated. The voice of the man in the black robe was hoarse, carrying an endless sense of desolation. It doesn't matter. Unless something goes wrong. Even if it does, you must have a way to save us. The Mystic Tone Tao Venerable turned and stepped directly into the crack, her figure vanishing. The Nine Heavens Demon Venerable smiled, cupping his hands toward the black-robed man. It seems your injuries have mostly healed. If something really goes wrong, I'll rely on you. Without a second thought, the Nine Heavens Demon Venerable's body swayed and entered the crack. After his figure disappeared, the crack in the ancient tomb didn't close. Instead, it remained torn as if eternal, floating among the stars. The blurry figure of the black-robed man stood silently. After a long time, he sighed softly. I hope nothing goes wrong. The second of the 5 ancient sovereigns, the great wasteland of the void profound realm, and Zhou Jin, the ancient immortal venerable with his 2 consorts. These people possess a third of my ancient star's power, and they've all entered this ancient tomb. I still can't feel at ease. Inside the ancient tomb, 2 massive hands swept through the air, destroying the first appearing 9th Order burial platform, while tearing open a crack that seemed to lead to another world. Wong Lin's face was pale, but there was no hesitation. The moment the crack appeared, he stepped forward and directly entered it. The people outside, including the Nine Heavens Demon Venerable and the woman in a flowing pink dress, could only watch helplessly as Wong Lin's figure disappeared, unable to move forward under the immense power of the giant hands. As Wong Lin entered the crack, the 2 giant hands slowly dissipated, turning into a scattering of crystal light. However, the danger wasn't over. The ancient demon, freed by the seal, revealed a red glint in its eyes, licking its lips and letting out a sharp, piercing howl to the heavens. The moment Wong Lin entered the crack, the 9th map appeared in his mind with a thunderous crash, but now, this 9th map was no longer of any use. At the same time, the voice of Dao Guyema, tinged with an ancient weariness, slowly entered Wong Lin's consciousness. The 9th Order tomb has been opened. You are my successor. You may step into the gate of reincarnation and enter the celestial mansion of the original Dao. However, the celestial mansion has been sealed by my enemies, and entry requires sufficient cultivation and immense fortune. In my lifetime, there was only one defeat, but I have no regrets. The Taoist of the Dao Gate, Zhuxian, sealed my retreat. Dao Memory Li Guang shot down my left eye, in which contains half of my memories and my longing for my homeland. Successor, if you can become ancient, if you can. The words faded, and the last 2 sentences were unclear. As Wong Lin's vision blurred, when it cleared, he found himself in an immense palace. The palace resembled the starry sky. It was so vast that its limits could not be seen. The entire palace was resplendent with gold and jade, exuding an endless sense of authority, yet also a sinister, chilling atmosphere. This eerie sensation came from the front, where 4 rows of figures stretched out into the distance, made up of countless cultivators forming a procession of corpses. Each row had nearly 1,000 cultivators standing rigidly, their 7 orifices bleeding, their eyes wide open, still filled with malice and killing intent. Their attire was strange, unlike anything Wong Lin had seen before. Their clothes flowed like water, alive in appearance. He had only seen such clothes before in the Lightning Thunder clan, when collecting the indestructible thunder in the illusory images of those foreign invaders. Above these figures' heads, green flames flickered, emitting a soft burning sound that illuminated the entire hall. Human lantern. Wong Lin floated in the air, his gaze sweeping over the cultivators. They had all become living torches, the flames burning from their bodies and primordial souls, creating fire-lit lanterns. The eerie sensation grew stronger. Wong Lin's eyes followed these cultivators forward. In the distance, he saw a towering stone platform with a massive seat at the very top. In front of the seat, a gigantic crack ran from the base of the stone platform to beneath the chair, still exuding an aura of terrifying power. It seemed that, once upon a time, someone had come with either a sword or an arrow, breaking through all barriers of heaven and earth, roaring from afar, directly targeting the person in the chair. The chair was empty, but a large oval light orb hovered in front of it, radiating a soft glow. Amidst the 4 rows of cultivators, there stood a massive cauldron, hundreds of feet tall. Inside it, faint incense smoke drifted upward, rising toward the sky. Wong Lin remained silent as his body slowly rose higher. His gaze, as he ascended, crossed over the massive stone platform, gradually revealing a portion of the palace interior. Behind this stone platform, there was another massive cauldron, surrounded by 4 rows of cultivators, all motionless, their faces twisted in malice, their heads burning with green flames. Around the stone platform, in all 8 directions, there were cauldrons, each surrounded by countless cultivators. Wong Lin's mind was shaken as he gazed at everything before him. After a long while, he took a deep breath. What he could see in front of him wasn't the entire vast hall. With a silent motion, Wong Lin raised his right hand and swung it forward. A fierce wind swept across, and a blinding light followed, enveloping half of the palace, allowing Wong Lin to see even further. The moment he saw the distant scene, his pupil shrank violently. Mountains of corpses. Countless bodies, their blood long dried, had piled up into 8 massive mountains. The eerie atmosphere grew stronger as Wong Lin's gaze extended outward. But this was not the end. As Wong Lin's eyes continued to sweep outward, he saw even more, sending a tremor through his mind. Beyond the mountains of corpses, there were 8 colossal dragons, each tens of thousands of feet long. These dragons opened their mouths, filled with fierce flames, but at this moment, they had turned to stone. However, an eerie force surrounded their bodies, keeping the 8 dragons floating in midair. The dragon heads faced the stone platform, as if roaring at the person who once sat there in a chair. Behind the dragons, massive magical war chariots, each the size of 1,000 feet, suddenly appeared on the floor of the endless hall. These war chariots looked incredibly menacing, covered in sharp spikes, with dark brown blood spread across them. It was clear that they had once displayed tremendous power. Around the war chariots floated many cultivators standing on flying swords. Their bodies were also petrified, but they remained frozen in midair, exuding an air of murderous intent. Behind them, in all directions, there were no less than several 100,000 cultivators. These people maintained their postures as if they had gone mad, rushing forward with an uncontrollable fury. The number of cultivators was endless. Among these cultivators, there were nearly 100 towering figures. These figures faced away from the stone platform, waving their hands as if trying to drive something away. Further in the distance, 8 colossal shadows, nearly as tall as the hall itself, appeared with earth-shaking force. They launched a frenzied massacre on the cultivators charging toward them. The longer Wong Lin looked, the more his mind trembled. Gradually, he saw the most unique figure standing at the very front, facing the stone platform's chair. This cultivator held an umbrella in his hand, floating in midair as he opened the umbrella. Despite being petrified, his left hand was raised, pointing directly toward the stone throne. Behind him, as Wong Lin's gaze scanned, he saw the last person standing within this palace. This was a blind cultivator, floating in midair with his left hand straightened as if holding a fist, as though grasping something, while his right hand curved, as if pulling something. This gesture, if a bow were placed in his hands, would clearly resemble someone drawing a bow. In the quiet palace, only the faint crackle of candle flames could be heard. After a long while, Wong Lin retracted his gaze and looked down at the massive stone platform. He stood silently for a moment before slowly descending and landing on the stone platform. Standing there, Wong Lin gazed up. Below him were countless cultivators, each with a grim expression, their eyes filled with a murderous madness, as though all their focus had suddenly locked onto Wong Lin. The malevolent energy from all directions surged forward like a tangible force, thundering toward him. Instinctively, Wong Lin took a few steps back, stopping in front of the chair, his face turning even paler. Especially before him, where a massive crack extended from the base of the stone platform. Within it, The residual murderous aura felt as if an arrow were soaring from afar, crossing over countless cultivators, battle chariots, and ancient clan warriors, before finally shooting toward the stone platform. It split the ground, heading straight for the seat where someone had once sat. In the silence, it felt as if some invisible force was pulling at him. From the past ascensions at the burial platform, the 5 voices that had appeared in Wong Lin's mind slowly gave birth to a new power. This energy merged into his body, causing him to slowly sit down next to the stone chair. The instant Wong Lin sat on the massive throne, his body shook violently, expanding rapidly, transforming into the ancient god's true form, hundreds of feet tall. 6 ancient god star points appeared in the center of his forehead, spinning rapidly. At that moment, an eerie demonic aura surged from the chair, rushing into Wong Lin's left hand, finally settling in his left eye, where 6 illusory star points formed. In an instant, an overwhelming demonic energy howled from the chair, rushing into Wong Lin's right hand, and eventually gathering in his right eye, where another 6 star points materialized. Though the star points in his eyes were illusory, they now intertwined with the 6 star points in his forehead, their rotating paths perfectly aligned. In that instant, Wong Lin's mind roared as if time itself was rapidly reversing on him. Gradually, he began to forget everything, and as this happened, a sense of majesty slowly emanated from him. This majesty was not just any presence. It was an overwhelming aura, a force that seemed as if it could face the collapse of heaven and earth with unflinching eyes. Even if the heavens fell and the earth shattered, this power remained unshaken. He gazed ahead, his expression gradually calming, but the aura of majesty only grew stronger, accumulating with every passing moment. At this moment, Wong Lin radiated an aura so intense that even a third-step great power would tremble before him. The first to feel this overwhelming pressure was the spirit Agile Sage, who resided within the heavenly emperor furnace at the star point between Wong Lin's eyebrows. He had been fully focused on suppressing Zhou Jin, assisting with the refining process in the furnace. But in the instant the tyrannical aura within Wong Lin began to accumulate, the spirit Agile Sage's face immediately changed. He turned pale, his eyes filled with fear as he abandoned his actions and was forced out of the heavenly emperor furnace, pushed out of the star point, out of Wong Lin's body. It felt as if staying inside would cause him to be crushed, his flesh and soul obliterated by the pressure. The starlight in Wong Lin's forehead flickered, the star point spinning, and the spirit Agile Sage was forced to materialize and immediately kneel on the platform. Only after kneeling did the pressure ease slightly, but it still remained immensely heavy, as though countless mountains were weighing down on him. He was not a third-step great power. He was a mere mortal trembling under this force, unable even to raise his head. Within the heavenly emperor furnace, Zhou Jin, a third-step great power from the Fengtian Wolf clan, had a rebellious nature and would never yield easily. Even the refining process would be extraordinarily difficult without the assistance of the spirit Agile Sage. Had it not been for the pressure from the 8 drops of poison, he would not have given up so easily. However, now, the pressure radiating from Wong Lin's body turned Zhou Jin's face pale in an instant. Fear filled his eyes as the overwhelming force caused the 8 drops of poison surrounding his body to lose their hold, while the 20 sealed ancient breath leaves showed cracks. In that moment of loosened control, Zhou Jin's body swayed as he broke free from the confines of the heavenly emperor furnace, bursting out from the star point at Wong Lin's brow. The moment he appeared, the terrifying pressure from Wong Lin's body slammed into Zhou Jin, causing his face to change once again. Instinctively, he took several steps back, his eyes wide with horror. This pressure terrified him, made him tremble. He felt that with just a thought from Wong Lin, he would be utterly crushed, as if facing this presence, even a third-step void nirvana cultivator would be like an ant. This feeling was something even the 5 ancient sovereigns could not evoke in Zhou Jin. It was as though before a person with such an overwhelming aura, all living beings and the very heavens themselves must tremble, must kneel before him. To not kneel would mean death. The pressure continuously building up within Wong Lin was yet to explode. Simply in this process of intense accumulation, it had already reached an indescribable level, domineering, like the Emperor King himself. Even the sky seemed to bow before him, and the earth itself seemed ready to collapse in worship. Zhou body trembled as blood dripped from his lips, retreating several steps, his legs echoing with loud thuds. It felt as though an invisible force pressed down on his shoulders, forcing him to kneel in submission. But he was not like the spirit agile sage. He had not been refined, and as a third-step great power and an ancestor of the Fontian Wolf clan, he would never kneel before heaven and earth, nor respect ghosts and gods. The greater the pressure, the more he struggled. With a low roar, his eyes turned bloodshot as he stubbornly refused to kneel. He understood that this kind of pressure could not have come from Wong Lin alone in such a short time. His keen perception immediately told him that this pressure was borrowed from something else. It was the power from that strange chair, borrowed power. This aura, this pressure, could vanish at any time. But if he yielded before it dissipated, if his Tao heart cracked, he feared he would never escape the shadow of kneeling before a third-step great power. Not only would his cultivation stagnate, but he might end up enslaved like the spirit agile sage. Struggling, the Fontian Wolf clan giant's growl echoed through the quiet palace. Sweat poured from his forehead, and his body pounded with force. His legs shook violently, but he gritted his teeth, refusing to kneel. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, staining his clothes. But just as Zhou was pushing himself to the limit, the borrowed force within Wong Lin's body reached its peak. As the 18 stars at his brow flashed, they abruptly stopped spinning. In that moment of stillness, the accumulated pressure and aura within Wong Lin exploded with a force many times greater than before, tenfold, even 100-fold. It roared out, sweeping everything in its path and shaking the entire palace. Zhou coughed up blood. His spirit felt torn apart, his Tao heart shattered, and all his determination collapsed in an instant. In his eyes, Wong Lin now stood like an invincible emperor king, exuding a domineering aura that made the heavens and earth tremble. With a dull thud, the burly man of the Fontian Wolf clan dropped to his knees, just like Ling Dong before him. Trembling, he dared not lift his head. He had yielded completely. Wong Lin seemed unaware of it all. His gaze pierced through Ling Dong and Zhou, looking into the distance. In his eyes, all the cultivators surrounding the stone platform appeared to regress through time, returning to an ancient era. A war that shook the heavens. It wasn't the dead beyond the stone platform who moved. It was Wong Lin's spirit, stirred by the images welling up in his mind, memories buried deep in the flow of time. In the vision, a parasol opened. Beneath it stood a middle-aged scholar. Silently, he stared across countless charging cultivators toward the figure seated upon a throne, then slowly raised his left hand and pointed forward. In Wong Lin's eyes, the ground surrounding the stone platform shook violently. Roars split the sky as tens of thousands of cultivators charged forward in madness, forming a sweeping storm that surged toward the stone platform. Behind them, even more cultivators, 10 times their number, howled as they rushed in like a tidal wave, unafraid of death. In the far distance, massive war chariots thundered across the land. Their approach brought dazzling lights, each beam powerful enough to annihilate everything in its path. Then, a massive rift tore open in the void above the palace. From within it, nearly 100 colossal figures of the 3 ancient clans descended with a thunderous roar. Their arrival triggered the collapse of heaven and earth, their furious bellows drowning out the cries of countless cultivators. With earth-shaking force, the nearly 100 members of the 3 ancient clans landed. Divine abilities, physical might, magical artifacts, every form of attack erupted as they stood united, resisting hundreds of thousands of charging cultivators. Each image burned with raw realism, as if Wong Lin had stepped into the stream of time, returning to this ancient battlefield to witness it firsthand. He sat there calmly, just as someone once had in this very seat long ago, watching the chaos with cold, indifferent eyes. A surge of confidence and overwhelming dominance welled up within him, transforming Wong Lin into another being entirely. The heavens rumbled, and then, from the rift above, 8 colossal figures emerged, towering to the skies. With thunderous force, they landed upon the earth. Their arrival plunged everything into chaos. These 8 giants wielded terrifying physical power. With every sweep of their arms, wind and thunder erupted. Countless cultivators were struck, coughing up blood and retreating. Some were shattered on contact, their bodies destroyed in an instant. But at the exact moment the giants appeared, the distant scholar beneath the parasol began chanting softly. The heavens twisted and warped, transforming into a mirror. From it burst deafening roars, and 8 enormous dragons, each tens of thousands of feet long, surged forth. The dragons spiraled through the sky, their expressions fierce, their heads aimed directly at the stone platform, unleashing earth-shattering roars. They looked ready to tear through all barriers and devour the platform itself. An indescribable sensation took hold. Perhaps the illusion was simply too real in Wong Lin's eyes. Or perhaps the borrowed power within him had now fully fused, allowing Wong Lin to become that man who once sat upon this throne, defying the heavens and the earth. He slowly raised his arm, then clenched his fist and punched forward through the void. Divine Tremor, Soldier Formation Array. As the punch landed, the illusionary world shook violently. An earth-splitting tremor erupted from his strike. Before the throne in the vision, thousands of approaching cultivators suddenly convulsed. With echoing booms, blood sprayed from their mouths. Their bodies twisted unnaturally, as though a vortex had formed around them, pulling them into place. As if by some unseen force, their chaotic rush transformed into four neat, orderly lines. And not just here. Across every side of the stone platform, tens of thousands of the foremost cultivators suffered the same fate. Blood sprayed from their lips, and their positions shifted grotesquely into regimented formations. A deathly stillness fell. In those rows across all 8 directions, every cultivator had their inner palace shattered, their essence spirit destroyed, and all signs of life crushed by that single punch. Wong Lin's fist lingered in midair, then slowly pulled back. He opened his hand into a palm and, almost casually, swept it forward. Demonic art, Beacon Fire Mountain. As his palm waved, flames erupted above the heads of the tens of thousands of neatly lined cultivators. Green fire, eerie and unnatural, burst into existence. Thick smoke spiraled into the sky. From afar, it looked like beacon flames roaring into the heavens. With a single sweep, the rising wolf smoke was immediately swept away by a violent wind, charging directly towards the hundreds of thousands of cultivators below. It pierced through their bodies and, at the 8 corners of the stone platform, formed 8 towering mountains made of wolf smoke. As the smoke mountains solidified, an immense force of absorption immediately spread out, devouring everything in its path. This force was extremely powerful and irresistible, swiftly pulling the surrounding cultivators, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, towards it. No matter how they struggled, they couldn't escape this pull. In an instant, blood-curdling screams echoed through the sky, as those cultivators were engulfed by the 8 smoke mountains. As the smoke dissipated, the mountains transformed into a sea of corpses. With one punch and one wave of his hand, Wong Lin's right hand stopped in midair. His index finger pointed forward. Devil Path, Reversal of Life and Death. The unfamiliar words slowly left Wong Lin's mouth. As he pointed, behind the hundreds of thousands of cultivators, enormous war chariots trembled in unison. A ripple spread from Wong Lin's finger, shaking the heavens and earth. Within this ripple, the war chariots visibly reversed the flow of life within them, turning to death energy, and came to a crashing halt, frozen in place. Furthermore, under the constant spread of this ripple, the 8 colossal dragons, charging towards the stone platform and roaring in fury, trembled violently. Under the power of the Devil Path technique, they offered no resistance as all their vitality was reversed into death energy. The reversal of life and death, the transformation from life to death, happened in an instant. The 8 dragons froze in midair, maintaining their posture, completely motionless. Not just the dragons. Every cultivator who came into contact with the ripple transformed in the same manner, their life force turning into death energy in the blink of an eye, their souls vanishing instantly. God, demon, devil, the ancient path without immortals. Wong Lin muttered as his extended finger formed a palm, gently slapping forward. At that moment, the ancient god star mark on his forehead spun rapidly, transforming from 6 stars into 9, even causing the 12 star points in his eyes to rapidly increase, eventually reaching 18 stars. 9-star ancient god, 9-star ancient demon, 9-star ancient devil. The power of the 3 clans seemed to merge in that instant, transforming into a force of Tao ancient power that flowed into Wong Lin's right hand. As he slapped, A giant phantom materialized in front of him on the stone platform. This phantom had only a head. Its head alone was as high as the heavens and earth, radiating a profound aura that seemed as old as the entire starry sky. Though its form was blurry, it was impossible to discern its true appearance. Upon its appearance, the head opened its mouth, and a breath of air shot forward, like a wild wind, sweeping across the land. Everywhere it passed, the bodies of the dead cultivators stiffened, showing signs of petrification. At that moment, across from the stone platform, the middle-aged scholar holding an umbrella seemed to sigh lightly. As he held the umbrella, a rainbow-colored light suddenly burst out from it. The rainbow intertwined in a moment, forming a seven-colored sun that rapidly spread its radiance outwards. The power of Tao Ancient clashed with this seven-colored radiance, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. But just then, a thunderous roar suddenly erupted. Behind the umbrella-bearer, the always closed-eyed cultivator raised a large bough in his hand, its string emitting a faint light. The bough's limbs were made of bone, with the first section engraved with the sun and moon, while the end was branded with the starry sky. The string, though unknown, emitted an ancient aura. At this moment, the cultivator pulled back the string, and a black arrow with 9 feathers appeared on the bough. The arrow's shaft was scarred, as though it had experienced countless battles through the ages, killing numerous cultivators. A terrifying killing intent gathered around it. The cultivator closed his eyes, drew the bow, and then released it with a snap. With an explosive sound, the arrow flew from the bow with an unimaginable momentum, howling through the air. The speed was so immense that it cracked the earth beneath it, leaving a massive fissure in its wake. The arrow raced forward, tearing through the air. As the arrow sped through the sky, it shattered every obstacle in its path. The wind and thunder roared, as if the arrow's light was more powerful than any other sound, overtaking all. It pierced through the 7-colored radiance created by the umbrella-wielding man, through the destructive breath emitted by the head of the ancient phantom, and everything else in its way. Under this unstoppable force, even the starry sky and time itself seemed powerless. With a final crash, the arrow entered the ancient phantom's head, as if setting it on fire. In the blink of an eye, it pierced the left eye of the phantom's head, shattering it. The left eye, dripping with blood, could clearly be seen on the tip of the arrow as it flew through the phantom's head, breaking through the heavens, the palace, and into the void, its final destination unknown. The intense pain surged through Wong Lin's mind like a tidal wave. The agony, so sharp it felt as though it were splitting him apart, threatening to tear his memories from his very being. As the arrow screamed through the air, blood began to flow from his left eye, and the 9 demon stars within it shattered with a deafening crash. Dao Memory Li Guang, you shot out my left eye, an eye that contained half my life's memories and my longing for my hometown. A voice, one that had once echoed in his mind, resurfaced in Wong Lin's thoughts. In that moment of excruciating pain, it was as though he had completely forgotten who he was, transforming instead into Dao Gu Yima. Give me back my left eye. The roar reverberated through the heavens and earth. With the cry, the immense head-shaped shadow exhaled a mighty gust, sending it crashing forward, obliterating the rainbow technique of the umbrella-wielding man. The swirling energy struck him directly, and his lips twisted into a bitter smile. Slowly, his body lost all vitality, turning into a stone giant, his umbrella also petrified. As this wave of power swept across, it pierced through the middle-aged man, landing on the archer behind him. The archer fell silent, closing his eyes, and his body instantly became a stone giant, frozen in the pose he had held in life. I have fulfilled my promise to you. The moment his eyes closed, he spoke his